International Wealth Builders Radio Show with your host, Dr. Sharon Barnes. And I hope you stay tuned for the remainder of the hour. During the first two segments, I talked about my passion, my start, my company, ADU Advantage, and how we help homeowners and investors build accessory dwelling units by educating them, providing resource, project management, helping them put their team together, and that we're real passionate about helping build more accessory dwelling units here in the Inland Empire. I also mentioned about the Revitalize program that allows you money to fix up your property if you're interested in selling it with no fees, no interest, no credit checks, so you can get the maximum for your property, and that it also can be a bridge loan for investors. And now I am excited to welcome to my show today Mr. Lionel Hicks, who is an appraiser, also a real estate professional. So we get a 2-for-1 here.
Yes.
And talking about accessory dwelling units, like I said, they're here to stay. And we are talking about the evolution of the law and people's interest in accessory dwelling units getting more and more popular. And we need to embrace them because we're talking about garage conversions, ground up, modular. But we know that on the horizon, people are doing 3D printing. They're doing total ecosystem, biodegradable, dwelling units because of our energy problems. Just last night, someone was talking about trying to use containers and everything. Now, those are getting far and far away from what we're used to, and so it takes a little bit more time to get those on board. But we do need to take advantage of this wave on accessory dwelling units.
I agree.
And as I was mentioning earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that we would also be talking about selling, the parents' property sometime when the children are building accessory dwelling units and so forth. So just want to definitely get your insight on steps we can take to maximize our property value and some of the things you're seeing in the accessory dwelling unit industry and problems. So I'm looking forward to having a great conversation with you. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Lionel Thomas, appraiser, real estate professional. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I've seen so many different scenarios that I'm trying to pick one and choose a path to explain. But in the scenario, because from what you just said, like if you have a family member who is aging in place, and maybe they need additional income, adding the ADU for them and maybe renting out the single family home is a beautiful, brilliant idea.
Exactly.
The equity is there. They're going to enjoy a newly constructed home that fits their lifestyle because they don't need all the space. They don't need all the function of a whole home anymore.
Exactly.
And then they can benefit from the rental income of that same property without, paying additional taxes for another property or another piece of land or whatever the case could be.
Yeah. So I had one client, prospect, who's out in like Cathedral City, and they were building an ADU in their backyard for their mother.
Yep.
But the mother had a property for sale in L.A.
Yep.
But the mother's on a fixed income, so she can't really fix up that property. But getting that property sold, and then they were worried about the valuation of the ADU on their property.
Okay. Well, let's talk. So in Indio or out there in Riverside County, there, there's more creatives there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So architecturally, I think it's a little more open.
Okay.
So adding an ADU there is obviously a great thing. Also, there's benefits to like Airbnb properties where people want to use them as rentals. But speaking specifically, if you are going to add ADU, I would suggest to add a detached ADU. Right, maybe one that has its own gas meter, electrical meter. Okay. And the reason why I suggest that is because then it's easy for an appraiser or easy for someone who's going to evaluate their property to say this is 2 buildings with 2 individual living areas, and they'll value it that way.
Okay.
Sometimes when the ADU is attached to the home with only 1 meter, it's a little tricky on how it's valued, whether it's valued as like an addition.
Okay.
Right? It's just like this is maybe an additional room, an additional bathroom, because it doesn't have its own like full living utility.
Oh, okay. So even though, so I had the client had like a 5-bedroom house.
Okay.
And it had like the living room and the great room. And then the great room was on the other side of the kitchen. So they wanted to put the wall up and put a kitchen right behind the existing kitchen.
Good idea.
And then use the master bedroom as the living quarter. Already had the bathroom in there, but only thing they had to do was add the kitchen and add a separate door for a person to come down and come in. You're saying even though it would have all the features of an accessory dwelling unit, the fact that it was attached to the footprint of the house is going to give them less value?
Well, what you just described is kind of like a conversion.
Okay.
Right? That's what I would call that. It's a conversion of existing living area or living space. And in that scenario, when I get the order, let's say I'm working for whatever bank or credit union, I get the order and I type in the address, the tax report is likely going to reflect what's been there for the last 50 years.
Exactly.
So maybe not until I get there, I'm going to see that they have split the home in a way that is acceptable or, usable for them, which is good. But I guess the core issue is you want to be conforming.
Okay.
And ADUs themselves are burgeoning, so they're kind of non-conforming. And is that a bad way to say? Is that a bad word or what?
Well, no, it's not a bad word. It's just kind of new to me. Okay, I'm trying to get this. Okay,
I'm saying conforming because
are we talking about non-conforming use or non-conforming structurally?
Good question.
That's maybe where I'm getting, because non-conforming when it comes to lending or whatever, in my mind got one thing. The way you were saying it kind of had another.
I'm thinking about it from the lending perspective.
Okay.
Because as I choose comparables, if that same home we're talking about, it was 5 bedrooms.
Right.
It's almost the same comparable is going to be chosen for it as before whatever it was then now. But the kicker now is it has a kitchen in there.
Right.
So now I have to say, well, does the zoning accept this kitchen? Is the kitchen done? Is it safe?
Right.
Does it have smoke detectors? And then the question is going to say, does it have its own utilities?
Right.
So then I'm going to get to a scenario where I'm looking at comparables, and I have to decide, do I compare it to these comparables that have multiple utility meters or only one utility meters? Or am I choosing the same comparables I chose before when it was still a 5-bedroom?
Right.
So in that scenario, because it's a conversion of the interior square footage, it's a little tricky. It's not a bad idea.
Right.
I applaud anyone who does that because I want them to have the functional that it's their home.
Right, exactly.
But you want to create a situation that's not easy, but something that the value is there, no questions asked.
Exactly. And having this discussion, it kind of brings up and I don't know exactly like how to say it, but anyway. it's like eyeballing it. It's like when I see that 5-bedroom home, okay, that now has a separate entrance, so I can knock on the front door and meet one family, and I can go down the side, knock on another door and meet another family, and they're renting it out. Then I'm thinking it's like a duplex, okay?
It is a duplex, attached duplex, right?
But it's not still getting the value of a duplex. Eyeballing, it looks like a duplex to me, and that's how I would describe it to someone, but technically and from a lending standpoint, it might not be a duplex.
What is the zoning?
Well, I mean, we got the ADUs though. If it's a R1, we can still put an ADU there.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, but that doesn't necessarily make it equal to a duplex.
Yeah, so typically, or let's say before 2020, a duplex was it had a special zoning.
Okay.
It was either like a multifamily zoning type.
Right.
And all these rules have changed. So I think that I would say the appraisal industry is still, we are not dealing with the change, but there's been big changes, and I don't know how it was consulted or considered. But I'm happy that it's happening. I'm happy that we have opportunities as homeowners and as Californians to do things that we obviously have wanted to do for many years.
Yes.
And I would say ultimately that yes, that 5-bedroom is now going to be maybe a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom duplex.
Right.
Now, where are we going to go and find those comparables?
Exactly.
Think about it from that perspective.
Right. Exactly.
And if that actually, does that add value, or does it?
Right.
Because while I agree that they're going to get the better function, it may be an issue for them on the back end.
Right.
That's why I say add a second unit.
Yeah. Adding a second unit is a great idea, no matter how you do it.
Yes.
But we need a good team and resources to get it done because everything's changing. But we're going to take a short break right now, and we'll come back with Lionel Thomas, and we will continue to talk about it.